Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were confirmed for the next installment of Spider-Man's multiverse. The question is, did Tom Holland's body language reveal it 1 year before? In this video, you'll find out what to look for right after asking a question, 3 body signals of nervousness, and the anatomy of a non-answer. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and I'll help you uncover the secrets that people try to hide from you.
Just get it out there. Yeah. You know, with Spider-Verse, which we got a couple of months ago, and then this film sort of touches on this idea of sort of the multiverse and kind of different people in different universes coming in. Any chance there's a multiverse in which Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and then your Spider-Man all meet together?
Clashing?
That'd be dope.
Number 1, his previous attitude. Any body language analysis about some kind of change in someone's demeanor. That's why it's so important to see what was the person's attitude before the reaction that we're trying to decode. In this case, Holland was relaxed and showing a mostly open posture. One of the best tips for any analysis is trying to imagine how would you feel assuming the posture that you see. You just mimic them for a few seconds and try to define what do you feel. Mimicking will help even if you don't know the meaning of certain gesture. Number 2, the change in expression. It's really easy to spot how Holland's facial expression changes upon hearing the question. His face muscles were relaxed and just a couple seconds later he becomes tense. You can see that there's also tension in his neck, being totally upright and frontal. In fact, the difference is so stark that it looks like a fight or flight response. That's why it's so important that when you're asking questions, your attitude remains calm and warm. That way you'll know that any reaction like this is due to the question itself and not your behavior. Number 3, hands covering belly. His body language was open at first and then he interlocks hands. Even if it's a very popular gesture, it's still a change in posture. Reading body language is like counting cards in blackjack. You add or subtract gestures to reach a precise conclusion. It's not only that he covers his belly, but the fingers are also interlocked. People do this gesture when they want to control their body expression. He could have just put one hand over the other and keep talking, right? But he connects his fingers to prevent that. Number 4, right thumb over left. In general terms, the left side of our body is more emotional and the right side is more rational. That's why the left side of our faces shows stronger emotions than our right side. In Holland's case, you see that as soon as he interlocks hands, his right thumb covers the left. It's like the rational part of his body trying to silence the more emotional and sincere half. This is very subtle and, in fact, not the last time we're going to see it in this video. Either way, you should keep your attention on the face and pick the signals out of the corner of your eye. Learning to spot these nonverbal communication clues requires a bit of practice and knowing where to look. That's why I've summarized more than 90 body language clues in a free ebook that you can download right now. You can find the link in the description or right here. Number 5, premature answers. When you try to find the truth, it's usually best to interview people separately. But when you ask the question to 2 or 3 people at the same time, you can watch the dynamics between them. In this case, Zendaya answers almost immediately, "No, we don't."
All meet together.
Clashing?
That'd be dope.
And then you can sort of...
It's like she was expecting the question. Not only she answers even before the question ends, but you can spot that she hides her left emotional hand at the same time. When someone answers so quickly, that's a clue that they were expecting the question and practice their answer. So keep in mind the time they take to process their answer. Number 6. Asking permission. Another perk of interviewing a group of people is being able to spot the hierarchies between them. Here you see that Holland, upon listening to the question, turns to Zendaya. That's one of the biggest tells that someone is asking for help, as in, what do I say now? In this case, it's a laid-back moment, there is almost no pressure, and it could go unnoticed. So once you spot that someone is asking permission silently, then you know that you should focus your question on that person. Apply pressure on the weakest link of the chain. Number 7, single shoulder shrug. Raising just one shoulder is often related to lying, but that's inaccurate. It's more like a reaction to a threat. such as when someone raises their hand and you flinch expecting a hit. It's no coincidence that it's the left shoulder that raises because it's the most emotional side. You can picture it like the right side was rationally calm and did not move because of that. And that's why we usually relate it to lying, because liars expect a response or counter-argument that could be a threat. This is another gesture that you should spot indirectly, keeping your eyes on their faces.
Just say that everyone just comes from a different universe.
But would you want that though?
Would you want that? Maybe that's a better question.
Yeah.
Would we want that? I mean, as a fan, I would.
Is your
Number 8. Mouth tension. We sometimes think that manipulator gestures are the only one that give away nervousness or stress. But in fact, any muscle movement that shows no evident purpose is also a signal of those states. In this case, Holland is trying to control his mouth from saying something. It's funny because not only his mouth but also his thumbs, now they're struggling to come out on top. That shows his inner struggle to speak. You can see that Jacob Batalon's fingers are doing a similar gesture. That's how you know that there's something that all of them are not saying.
Is your no answer an answer in and of itself?
The thing about this film that's so exciting, right, is we take Spider-Man to Europe, and what's so cool about that is we've never seen Spider-Man in Europe before. No, of course I'd love to make a movie with those guys. It would be so cool.
I was like, oh, we're getting the junket answer.
No, it would be amazing. It would be really, really cool, and it's something that the fans really want. So whether Marvel and Sony decide to do that,
Or
it's
they
up to
decide
them.
to do it.
It's not up to me. I can't walk in and be like, Kevin, this is what we're doing on the next one.
Yeah.
But it would be really awesome. Yeah.
Number 9 gives a non-answer. This shouldn't come as a surprise, but if someone gives a non-related answer to what's been asked, that's a red flag. Even in this case that Holland does it playfully to avoid the question.
The thing about this film that's so exciting, right, is we take Spider-Man to Europe, and what's so cool about that is we've never seen Spider-Man in Europe before.
No matter if people are joking, treat that clue as just another signal. That is one of the easiest examples of a non-answer, when someone deliberately switches to another topic. This time it's a very laid-back situation, but in any serious setting you could just repeat the question. Number 10. Long blink and belly hiding. In any body language analysis there are going to be obvious clues and more subtle signals. Here, Holland adjusts the way he sits, but at the same time he does a long blink. Those are blinks that convey the need to escape or to protect yourself. The same happens with his belly. With that movement, his body creates a defense for that area. He did it previously with his hands. Now his whole body tried to protect itself. Number 11. Late reaction. At last, he gives a natural answer to the question. Yes, he's excited about the idea and it would be great to happen. So that seals the deal, right? It's a good answer to the question. But the problem is the timing of the answer. Why didn't he say that in the first place? Why did he show all those signals? Why did he turn to Zendaya? Even if an answer is plain and natural, you have to consider any delay in that process. So it's suspicious if the answer is too fast, and it's suspicious if the answer takes too long. Number 12. Grabs himself. By this time he gave his answer. There's no more pressure and we're ready to move on, right? But it's easy to spot his right hand grabbing his left for a split second. Again, it's a control gesture, his rational side trying to control his emotional one. That's a way of telling himself, this is not over, so stop talking. If you're interviewing someone, it's a good idea to appear that you move on to another topic. Be aware if they relax with the topic change and after a while, return to the subject to confirm that the emotional reaction repeats. The main takeaway of this funny example is that when you're trying to find the truth, every detail counts. In this case, there was no further questioning, but if you're faced with a similar situation, you should ask the question again. It's all about what do you want to uncover. The most important strategy is making sure they feel comfortable. That way, if you spot an emotional reaction, it would not be because you have a hostile attitude, but at the question itself. And that's when you'll wonder, why are they reacting like that to this question? Again, if you want all my free nonverbal communication tips, there's a link in the description to download my ebook. And don't forget to subscribe and activate those notifications so you don't miss any of my body language analysis and tips. See you next time!